So, unsurprisingly, Eddie Hearn has categorically stated that he still wants the Chris Eubank Jr. Conor Benn fight to take place. And now, this was, I think, fairly obvious because when the news broke that the fight was off, it was labelled as being postponed, hinting at it would be rescheduled and happen later on down the line. I think that was always the intention of Eddie Hearn and Kalle Sauerland, but also Eubank Jr. and Conor Benn. I think they genuinely hoped that this fight would go ahead. Thankfully, it didn't, because this fight, if it did go ahead tomorrow, as entertaining as it could have potentially been, I don't know, could have been a one-side whitewashing. But the fact that it didn't go ahead was a good thing, because if it was to go ahead, it set an unwanted precedent in boxing, which already has its fair share of less than desirable characteristics, the sport. And I want to take this chance to actually ask the question, or present the question to you guys. What do you think happens if this fight is rescheduled? Say Kalle Sauerland and Eddie Hearn attempt to reschedule it. Does that fight even have legs? Will it be accepted by the boxing fraternity? I'm talking both hardcore fans and casual fans, because this really is a bad look. And maybe, someone asked this question on my live stream yesterday about if the fight got rescheduled, would it be accepted by boxing fans? And I said that I suspect it would only be accepted if Conor Benn was really put under the microscope and put under the magnifying glass, and he was made to jump through such stringent hoops that people were almost certain he wasn't going to try any funny business, or there was the likelihood of this kind of thing happening again was extremely low. And of course, there's only so much you can control that, because there's so much that goes on behind the scenes. But even then, I said that there'd still be the possibility that this fight is just disowned by boxing fans in general, because it was never really a fight that was in high demand anyway. I'm sure there's a large casual market and a smaller hardcore market that wanted to watch this fight because maybe there's nostalgia, and obviously it's a bit of a freak show. There's some intrigue, but for the most part, most people, including myself, would have preferred to see Benn fight someone at welterweight, like David Avanesian or Keith Thurman, maybe Josh Kelly. And then for Eubank Jr., stay at middleweight, try and fight Golovkin, seeing as he's coming off the back of the Canelo fight, something like that, high-level middleweight. This fight came along, it was announced, and it was always like, oh, it's a little bit strange, but I guess we'll tune in anyway. And look, the fight's not going ahead anyway, so it's all hindsight now. It's all coulda, woulda, shoulda. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to explore, because obviously Eddie Hearn's going to want to make this, because Eddie Hearn has been taking L's recently. Left, right and centre, he's been taking losses. And Eddie Hearn is someone who, he hasn't been under the cosh very much in recent years, but this, I want to say, like 2022 alone, he's taken some big hits. He I touched on him in the live stream over the past couple of days. He lost out on the Usyk Joshua rematch to Sky in the UK, which was the main market. That's where you're going to get the most money. He's had fighters leave him. Fighters suggest that Eddie Hearn isn't the person who we see on IFL TV, which I think is obvious, but really almost like character assassinations, even though, not to say that they are just wholly belligerent statements that people are making. There could be some validity and truth to it. I'm not sure. I'm not an insider. But yeah, Eddie Hearn has been taking some major hits, and he's clearly losing his grip on British boxing. And it's, I said that as long as a promoter is able to get people to buy tickets and buy the pay-per-view and tune in, it doesn't really matter whether they're liked or disliked or completely despised or loved. As long as a promoter sells a fight and the fight generates money, the promoter's done their job. But could we see a boycotting of not just this fight in later on down the line, but Eddie Hearn and the Matchroom brand? Who knows? So it just goes to show how controversy like this, it can really, really turn things upside down. And I mean, it's a black eye for boxing that this has happened. It would have been even worse if the fight went ahead, but thankfully it didn't. And Conor Benn as well, because going through this and failing a drugs test is bad enough. It's one of the worst labels you can have, probably the worst label you can have as a professional athlete, because it just invalidates all of what you've achieved, puts everything into question. Even when it's said and done, people are going to look back and there's going to be question marks. Were you on the juice? Were you not on the juice? You know, what can we actually know for sure? And now Conor Benn hasn't actually achieved anything in his career. He's only just started getting some momentum. He's only just started to enter the stage of being a contender. For a long time, he was still just a prospect, an up-and-comer. But to have the controversy like this so early on in his career, it's not like Conor Benn was a world champion veteran with dozens of world title fights and, you know, he's fought a who's who. He's like, because you know, you get some old school fighters like that, some of the legends, and then towards the end of their careers when they're fighting in their late 30s, early 40s, and then they have a fishy drugs test come up, you know. It's nothing like that. Conor Benn is young. He's 26 years old and he's in the early stages of his career, and already he's had this kind of controversy. Could it potentially be curtains for Conor Benn? I think both Conor Benn and Eddie Hearn have a long and hard road back if they hope to receive the trust of the boxing public ever again. And you know, I say that word trust. You shouldn't really trust these people, because at the end of the day, they're making their money, and you don't know them at the end of the day, and that's it's really the moral of it. There's no real place for trust. There's criticality. There's room for criticality and questions, and then suspicions and theories and whatnot. So yeah, to put a long story short, I'm asking you guys, if this fight is rescheduled down the line a couple of months, maybe into 2023 or maybe even longer, is this fight accepted? Would you accept this fight? Or do you think it's pretty much dead and it should stay dead? But yeah, just let me know. Just a short video on this one. But yeah, leave it down below and I'll get back to you. And for now, thanks for listening, and I'll catch you in the next video.